doing these kind of this live thing now, because it's that was something that totally came out of left field, because you're right. If you look at, again, back to the car analogy, I could buy a Ford for $30,000. I can get a Beamer for $75,000, and that Beamer is, number one, very nicely engineered, for a great German car, but number two, it says something, and it also gives me the extra scratch in the amount of money that they paid for me, the Beamer in this case. So that's nifty. Wow, that question went way better than I thought it would. So let's talk a little bit more about the most obvious thing in marketing, and this is the elephant in the room today, social media. And I did an episode on this about it's going to be a month back when this particular episode airs. It was kind of a primer in this case. And we really didn't drill too deep because A, I wanted to leave a lot for this episode, but B, it's unique to everybody what the brand can be on social media. So in your opinion, where should folks be going with their efforts for social media in not only the personal brand growth, but kind of that job hunting style?
Yeah, so I think if you're really focused on becoming like an authority on social media, it's really important that you prioritize your platforms. You want to be where your audience is first, and you definitely do not want to try to be on all the platforms at once if you're building your personal brand. That you are going to burn yourself out. Trust me, I know from experience. So really you want to prioritize. So for example, if you think you're going to have the biggest impact on like if you're doing the job seeking stuff, if you're going to have the biggest impact on LinkedIn, and maybe like, let's just say YouTube, like if you know those are going to be the ones where you like, let's just say you're great at video, that's one of your strengths, get on YouTube. Like prioritize what makes the most sense for your skill set, but also where your audience is. And so if you're looking for a job, that's probably going to be LinkedIn. If you're looking to build authority and answer people's questions that they're searching for, YouTube would be great for that. So it's really about understanding, you know, who you're trying to reach and where you should be first. And so once you kind of know which platform you're going to be on, you really, I cannot stress this enough. Quality content is key. If nothing else, if it doesn't look pretty, if it doesn't look the most amazing, just focus on producing quality content that matters. Like that's going to be the game changer. You will get noticed over somebody who has a pretty brand any day.
Interesting. Okay. We're going to talk more about quality content in a bit, because that just seems like an oxymoron. What you just said was you put out quality content, but it doesn't have to be pretty and beautiful and published and have graphics and things like that. So that's actually really interesting. So backing up just a half step here. For folks who are listening to this, again, job seekers, people who are really looking for that, you're saying LinkedIn, number one. Go to the place where they are going to find jobby stuff. There's no other platform out there that does job stuff, basically, right?
Well, I mean, it depends on what your strategy is too. Like, let's just say I'll use someone who wants to get into like media space, like video. You might see that like video is huge on YouTube, right? So like maybe you start interacting. Maybe there's somebody you'd love to do what he does on YouTube, and you want to replicate that. So you might want to create your own content and reach out to him and be like, hey, like, I'd love to come on your YouTube channel, like, check out mine. You know, like, there's all sorts of different opportunities. It just depends on what you in particular want to do. It's really easy to think of, like, the corporate jobs as, like, the path. And so that's, like, a lot of LinkedIn, a lot of, you know, applying for jobs. But you might also just find that, like, your favorite, I keep using YouTube because it's just top of mind, but your favorite YouTube star is like hiring a social media manager. And so you reach out to them and you network. So it all depends on what your goals are. Got
it. Okay. Because we talked in one of the last episodes we recorded here about doing your own thing. And sometimes I think that might get a little bit blended with
definitely can.
With seeking a job in this case, because obviously somebody listens to this show to find the tips to get, you know, money coming back in the thing, and maybe, you know, Chuckles 355 on YouTube, or who, you know, I don't know who has that username, but it's not me. That person may have an opportunity for you, but that's probably something that isn't quite readily apparent at the first, and maybe not what you should necessarily focus 100% of your effort on, correct?
Totally. If you're just if you're just in the job seeking realm, you're not trying to build a personal brand to monetize on social media, then you really should be focusing on building your portfolio, if it applies, and then LinkedIn.
And then going through LinkedIn, kind of the professional level. Okay, now we're going to talk again about content being quality in just a moment here, but how much time should this take? I guess this is not just from a how much time per week do I need to throw at this to build a brand, but what does my brand look like day 1, day 90, beyond? And how do I know I'm successful, I guess?
Yeah, so I think this really depends on what your individual goals are. Every situation is dynamic, but I would say it's kind of similar to the answers that teachers give when you ask, Miss whatever, how long does this essay need to be? And she goes, well, however long it needs to be good and to get your point across. Like, that's usually the answer.
Okay.
So the same applies here. I mean, if, again, you're trying to build authority to get people to want to work with you as a coach, then it's probably, you should be spending a little bit more time on social media and, building up that personal brand. Now, if you're just trying to look for jobs on LinkedIn, I mean, you should be spending a couple hours a week, figuring out what you post and, who to reach out to. Really, it's going to be about the conversations. And those should happen naturally, and it shouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to schedule time to have conversations. So I think it really depends on the situation.
Okay. And all of this obviously takes some skill. You can't just walk into this and be like, I'm going to go do this stuff on LinkedIn. I'm either going to, create content or build my brand or whatever it might be. What do I need to successfully market myself in the modern job economy on social media?
So I would say good copywriting and storytelling is key. And I'm not just biased because I started in the copywriter realm.
I seem to recall somebody who wrote a lot of copy back in the day when we worked together.
But copy flows into everything. I mean, whether it's, how you write out a bulleted video script of what you're going to say on a video, or if it's prepping for an interview and the answers that you write out, being authentic and vulnerable, but also, credible in how you write is super important. And I would say my number one tip would be, if you don't feel like you are a good writer, or that you, not even grammar. I'm talking how to write something and people connect with it. If that's not the case, I would take a digital course on that. Because that's going to be probably the biggest thing that'll move the needle for you is when someone reads your post, they say, wow, I like that. That's smart. And I got to have her or him on my team.
Okay. So you don't necessarily have to set up this giant machine of graphics and all these things, but just being insightful almost would be perhaps a way to do it. And again, I realize we walked into copywriting without defining what copywriting is, just for folks. So because you were a copywriter, give us the quick dictionary definition, if you will, or maybe the Sasha-nary definition.
Sure. So copywriting is really just the words that you write. Copywriting in marketing means sales copy, or things that you would say to get someone to take a certain action. But really, it's just the words that you write on a post or your resume or a cover letter. It's really important that you are able to connect with others through words, because that's mostly going to be their first impression of you.
Okay, so focus there, and then other things. Maybe you take some small time graphic design, little bits and pieces here and there, and kind of build from the bottom up. Okay.
Totally.
So, like myself, I know that I'm not a great graphic designer. By the grace of whatever graphic gods, I got a logo ground out for this show, mostly using the crop tool. But if I don't have a skill like, say, graphic design, or maybe I'm just not a very good copywriter, and maybe I need that for my cover letters or my resume or whatever it might be, where am I going to go find that? Where am I going to find that skill?
So I guess my biggest hack for this, especially if you're just like, I don't have the time to invest in like a copywriting course type of thing, is just go find someone or an example of like what you do like and you feel like is your style. Like, okay, he talks and like that's how I kind of am too, and I like how he writes, and so you can kind of start to see formulas forming with how people write things. So, like, for example, if I was writing a cover letter, this is a little bit different because you can't just go see someone's cover letter that they posted, but you can certainly Google copy or cover letters for a graphic designer. Mm-hmm. And then you start to like look through what you see on there, and you'll start to find things that you like and what you don't like, and just use that to like get you going and kind of build a template. And then, fill in the examples or the details that are unique to you and they're straight from you. But use that as a starting point, because the biggest part really is getting started. Once you have that template, it's like, oh yeah, I can fill in, what I did that meets that job description, or I can, so you just go and find examples. You follow the people that, you want to be like, and you strive to be like. Take, what they say and, don't use it verbatim, but like use it as a template to get started.
Sort of the ingredients to create your own, if you will. Okay. All right. Now here's the one that I think might really intrigue folks here. We're in tough times right now. There's a pandemic going on. There's, widespread unemployment and things like that. And people have to kind of tighten their belts. If I wanted to build my personal brand on the cheap, or maybe at $0, where would I start?
So, again, broken record, just start creating quality content. So, really focus on your portfolio and tighten up your resume to reflect that USP. Like, do some reflecting, figuring out what that content is about yourself. And then, how can you tighten that up? So, like, for me, I don't have a graphic design background either. So for like my portfolio or my resume, I use like tools online to build those things for me based on a template. For example, I think my resume, when I did it, was on like myperfectresume.com or something. Like you can, like it doesn't have to be, like I actually even, oh my gosh, they're going to kill me. I screenshotted it so that I didn't even have to pay for them to give it to me.
My Perfect Resume, if you're going to sponsor us, don't listen to this episode. Don't listen to this
episode. Like, there's little, like, just get smart about it. Like, there's hacks everywhere. And, like, Canva.com is great for graphic design type stuff.
I think I have that app on my phone. That's the one where you do all the Instagram stuff. It's like almost an editor on your phone.
Yeah, except
Canva.
You can get it on your desktop too, which is a little bit easier to manipulate.
They threw me to the phone, like, their phone app. Like, okay.
I love Canva. So, like, you can use that to create resumes. You can use it to create book covers. Like, it's not just social media stuff. Maybe it used to be, but not anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's all templated out. So you pick one that you like and you just edit it to be, the colors or the words that you need and change the picture out. It's all free.
Yeah. So, and that's actually something that I use for this show as well. They ping me with a notification. They're like, you haven't Canva today. But, like, I know, guys, it's okay. You're one of 10 tools I use to make this whole thing happen. But for you who are listening, that app is called Canva. C-A-N as in November, V-A, right? Like canvas without the S.
Yep.
And it is a really nifty, really intuitive thing. So if you're having kind of some of those maybe brand shortcomings, if you will, from your skill set, where maybe you don't have kind of the way to make something that you want to say look good, Canva's a great tool. Instagram kind of has some of those too, but that's really interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that because that totally didn't click with me here right now.
Yeah, get scrappy, man. There's plenty of free tools and resources online. You really don't need to pay for anything up until a certain point.
Which is kind of awesome, but then that paywall hits and you go, oh my God, I have $200 and stuff to get out to these people. But no, usually some of the ones at least I've been using are, running a freebie monthly, or 10 things a month or whatever it might be. So that's always nice. Okay. Now we talked about what makes quality content earlier, and we got to go a little bit deeper into this. So I've got this question here. So now I've done all the easy stuff. what really makes me me. And, marketing myself, I just go off and I do that. And I make content and people come to me, right?
If only it was that easy.
Okay. So that's kind of a throwaway question. But this is, something we could probably spend another episode on. How do I make compelling